We are working on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. We're currently on the Project 1 Game Store. Task 1 asks us to go to the New Releases worksheet, and it's telling us to go ahead and navigate to the cell range Newest Titles and delete the contents. Now there is a few ways that you can do this. Probably the most easiest way is to go to the name box right here. If you click the down arrow and click Newest Titles, it brings us to that named range. And we'll go ahead and right click and click delete, and it has a shift cells left. Sure, that's fine. And it went ahead and deleted all of that content. We'll click mark completed. Task 2 asks us to go ahead and go to row 2 on the same sheet, and it's going to have us change the row height to 34.5. Now, in order to do this, it's very simple. You could click and try and drag and make it perfect, or if you put your cursor in between, you have that line with the two arrows. You can then right click and click row height, and then you can just type in 34.5. Click OK. Click mark completed. Task 3 asks us to go ahead and insert a function in I7. We're going to use the average if. Now it doesn't tell us that that's what we need to do, but that's what we're going to go ahead and put in, is the average if function. So we're going to go ahead and click insert function, type in average if, and click go. We'll click OK. Now it's asking us for the range. Here it's the systems right here. Now GMetrix was real creative in GameStation 4 and YCube 720, but the range here is what we're telling Excel to look at. We want you to look at all of these system names, and our criteria is we only actually want you to look at YCube 720. It'd be helpful if I could spell it right. 720. We only want you to look for YCube 720, and if that is listed, what we want you to do is down here average out that score. So we have our full range. It's looking for YCube 720, and what it's going to do is take the scores of the 720 and average it out. It's not going to look at GameStation 4 or N3S, and it gives us that average rating of 6.5. We'll click mark completed. Task 4 asks us to go to the pre-orders sheet, and it's going to have us remove the table functionality from this table. So we'll go ahead and click inside that table so that we get the tables tools design. And right here, we're going to go ahead and in the tools group, click convert to range. And it went ahead and it took away that tables functionality. So we'll click mark completed. And it says retain font and cell formatting. If you click that, it keeps all the colors and everything that was applied. It's just no longer a table. Task 5 asks us to go ahead and create a new sheet. So we're going to go ahead and click the plus arrow here. And we'll double click sheet 1 so we get that text highlighted. And what we're going to do is type in specials. Make sure you capitalize the S. We'll hit enter to set that text, and then we're going to right click to change the tab color here, and blue is a standard font. So if you're not sure, hover.
We are working on GMetrix Excel Practice Exam 2. We're in the second project called Feed Store. Task 1 wants us to go to the homemade pet food worksheet. So we'll go ahead and click on that worksheet here. And what it wants us to do is put our cursor here in A9, and it's having us import the new flavors text file. What we want to do is go to the data tab here at the top. If you're quickly thinking, you're going to think insert, but it's not insert. You're going to be on data. Get and transform data group from text CSV file. You'll want to map to your GMetrix templates folder. We'll select new flavors. We'll go ahead and select import. If you're running Excel 2016, you're going to have a different screen than what I'm looking at here. This is because I have 365 installed. We can select our delimiter here. We want to make sure that's tab. It wants it to be tab, so we'll keep that. And what we're going to do is go ahead and on the load dropdown, select load to. In this section, where do you want to put the data? We want to select existing worksheet here, and notice it's referencing where we had our cursor before we began this process. We'll select OK. I'm going to go ahead and close out of the queries and connections. And I'm going to do some extra steps to this just because of how it was brought in. With my cursor here in this section, what it did was when it brought it in as a table, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and select convert to range. And then I'm going to delete this row 9 because it says to bring it in without headers. And so it just added the headers for me, and I don't want that. We'll go ahead and right click and select delete. And we won't worry about the formatting because a different step is going to change that. We'll go ahead and mark that we completed this task. I'll go ahead and bring in an old video clip to show you what it looks like in Excel 2016. That way you can see both ways. On the certification test, it will not look like the 365.
It tells us that this has no headers, so we want to make sure that's not selected. And it tells us that it's tab, so we'll click next. So we'll select that tab, and then we can click finish. But if you're not sure, click next, and that just brings us to this screen right here where we can format the data here. We'll click finish, and then here it's just asking us exactly where we want to select it, but A9 is correct. And notice it went ahead and plugged that data in. We'll click mark completed.
Task 2 wants us to go to the feed inventory worksheet, and we're going to remove a hyperlink. So we're going to go to that worksheet. It tells us that in C33, there's a hyperlink that we need to remove. We want to go to the insert tab here at the top. And in the links group, we want to click the links drop down to click insert link. And this time what we want to do is just click remove link. And notice that hyperlink is now gone. We'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. Task 3 wants us to go ahead and reveal a worksheet that's hidden called fencing. What I can do here is right click on one of the worksheet tabs, and what we'll select is unhide. What I'm having to do is to lower the instruction screen because for some reason the dialog box was hidden behind the instructions. I've noticed that happen on some of my student computers as well. On this unhide dialog box, we want to select fencing, and we'll click OK. It tells us that we need to make sure that this worksheet is located after the homemade pet food worksheet. That's where it was placed. We can go ahead and check that we've completed this task. Task 4 wants us to go to the homemade pet food worksheet tab. It tells us to select range A3 to E11. So we'll go ahead and select that range. And it tells us to go ahead and make this a table that has headers. And it doesn't matter the table style format that's applied. So what we can do is just click on the insert tab, go to the tables group, and select table. It tells us to make sure that our table has headers. So we'll keep that checked, and we'll go ahead and select OK. We'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. Task 5 wants us to go ahead and resize a chart that's found on the feed inventory worksheet. So let's go ahead and go there. They want the chart to only cover H3 to O19. So we want to make sure it's in the correct starting place. What we'll do is we'll select the chart to get the size handles. And what we want to do is just click and drag until we have it covering to O19. And that looks good. We'll go ahead and mark complete.
We are on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. Currently we're on Project 3, Fudge Store. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and display the cost worksheet in page layout view. So, and then we're going to insert a page break. So let's go ahead and do that first step. We're going to go to the View tab at the top, and we're going to click Page Layout. And notice it shows us a little bit of different view for Excel than our normal view. And then it's going to have us go to row 20. And it says that we're going to insert a page break between row 20 and 21. So from here, we're going to go to Page Layout. We're going to go to Page Setup, Breaks, Insert Page Break. And I went ahead and dropped that. We'll go ahead and click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go to the Flavors column in the Cost worksheet and replace all instances of the misspelled word purge with splurge. So we're going to stay on this sheet. We're going to go to the Home tab, find and select Replace. We're going to type in capital P purge with capital S splurge. Click Replace All. Click Close. We can click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go to the Profits worksheet. And in A29, we're going to go ahead and insert a function. Specifically, it's going to be the average function. So you could hand key in this, but I encourage you to do the insert function. We'll type in average at the top, click Go, and we're going to do the average function. So we'll select that. And then our range is going to be the entire cost column. And we'll click OK. Click Mark Completed. Task 4 asks us to stay on this sheet, and we're going to go ahead and include the total profits, or the total profit data on this chart. So we'll go ahead and select the chart so that we get the special chart tools at the top. We'll click Design. We're going to click Select Data, And all we need to do here is just click total profit. And now that data is here as well. And you have that legend at the top. We'll click mark completed, and task 5 asks us to locate table 1. So the best way to do that is we're just going to go ahead and click this right here, and we'll click table 1. And then from here, we are going to go ahead and because we did that, we have this table selected, which gave us the table tools design. And up through that tab, we're going to click in here, and we're actually just going to rename this cost and click enter. Click mark completed. We are on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. Currently we are on Project 4, Computer Rooms. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and rename the sheet named Renters to Customers. So we'll double click that so you get that highlighted text, and we'll type in Customers. Make sure you capitalize the C. We'll hit enter to set that text. We'll click mark completed. Task 2 asks us to go to the Backstage view and add the title property New Rates. So we'll click File, and it's going to be in this section. If you do not see it, click Show All Properties, and then title is top one. We'll click New Rates, capital N, capital R, and a lot of my students tend to want to add a space after this, and it gets marked wrong. So once you're done, click Enter or click off of it, and we'll go out of the Backstage view. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go to the Computer Rooms worksheet, and we're going to select A1 to F10. And it tells us to make it to where only those cells will, so that they will be the only cells that print. And so we'll go to the page layout, and the page setup, we'll click print area and click set print area. We'll click mark completed. Task 4 is a little bit trickier. It's going to have us save the computer rooms worksheet as a web page named rent prices, and we're going to save that to the GMetrix templates folder. So we'll click file, save as. We'll go to the GMetrix templates folder, and here we're gonna type in the file name rent prices like it says. Be helpful if I spelled it correctly. And here we're gonna change the file type, and as you're looking through here, you're looking for web page, and that'll change it to that extension, the HTML. And we're gonna go ahead and select publish, and we're going to select all contents of computer rooms, and we're going to click publish. We can back out of the Backstage view. We'll click mark completed. And task 5 asks us on the computers worksheet to configure the row headings for row 4 so the entry is wider than the column wrapped to multiple lines. Right here you can't see summer, July, or any of this stuff here. So what we want to do is select row 4 and go back to the Home tab, and we're going to just click Wrap Text in the Alignment group, and notice how it drops down. We'll click Mark Completed. We are working on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. We're currently on Project 5, Police Auction. Task 1 asks us to go to the Sold sheet. And in this worksheet, we're going to add a brand new column 1. Now, all we need to do is select column A, and with that down arrow there, and then we can right click and click insert, and notice that a brand new column A has been placed there. We'll click mark completed. And we're still on this worksheet, and it's going to have us hide rows 14 through 17. It says that they need to be present but not visible. So what we'll do is we'll select those rows, and we'll right click and click hide. Now, if you look, you can see it's a little bit raised in between those two rows, and it just lets us know that there's content there, but it's hidden. So we'll go ahead and click mark completed. Now we're on the vehicles worksheet, and what we're going to do is add subtotals. This is a little bit tricky, but we're going to put our cursor here in this table. We're going to go to data, the data tab. We're going to go to the outline subtotal, and we're going to change at each type. We're going to use the sum function, and yes, we're going to add the subtotal by price. And the last thing we want to do is make sure we put a page break between groups. and we'll click OK. And notice that what it did, it put this automobile subtotal here. And it put that subtotal underneath price. We'll click Mark Completed on the sold worksheet. So we're going back. It's going to have us format this table so that every other row is shaded, and you don't want to do this manually. With your cursor in this table, you get the Table Tools design, and all you need to do is click Banded Rows, and notice how it shades every other row. Click Mark Completed, and Task 5 asks us to go back to the vehicle worksheet and encode this right here for B4. We're going to create a formula that returns the two leftmost letters of the vehicle style displayed in D4. So it doesn't tell us which formula that we're going to use, but I will tell you it's the left formula. There's also a right formula, but the left formula goes like this. We'll go ahead and insert our function. I'll type in left here, and we'll go ahead and click that. And it tells us it's D4, so we'll select that, and it tells us that we only want the two leftmost characters. So we'll go ahead and select 2, and we'll click OK. Notice that it only shows us the S and the E. I could have done 3, and it would have showed us the D. Notice it's exact. It doesn't capitalize it. The E, it's just capital SE based upon this text right here. We'll click Mark Completed. We are working on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. We're currently on Project 6 called Taco Stands. Task 1 asks us to go ahead and make a copy of Quarter 2, the Quarter 2 worksheet to the right of the Quarter 2 worksheet. So we'll go ahead and select that Quarter 2 worksheet. We're going to right click. We're going to click Move or Copy. And we're going to click Move to End because we want the copy to come to the right of Quarter 2. And we're going to make sure that we hit Create a Copy and then click OK. And it gives us a copy of that sheet and just puts the 2 in parentheses. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go back to Quarter 2 sheet, and we're going to go ahead and show the formulas that are in each of these cells. So we're going to click the Formulas tab at the top, click Show Formulas, and notice here how it shows us not a return value, but the actual formula. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 3 asks us to go to the Quarter 1 sheet, and it tells us to select columns B through E. And what we're going to do is select a formatting here, the US dollar symbols, left align, decimal points align. So we're going to go ahead and click the Home tab, and under this Numbers, we want to click the down arrow here and click the $ English United States. And we went ahead and it did it all for us right there. We'll click Mark Completed. Task 4 asks us to go to the chart here, and it wants us to change the X and Y. So what we're going to do is from here because we have that chart selected, we're going to get these special tabs at the top for chart tools. We'll click Design, and we'll click Switch Row Column, and it switched it all for us. We'll click Mark Completed, and Task 5 asks us to go to the Quarter 2 worksheet, and it has us go all the way and select this chart. And what it wants us to do is to move the chart to its own sheet named Quarter 2 chart. Now you don't want to cut this and create a new sheet and do all that. You can right click, or with the Chart Tools Design tab, you can click Move Chart. So either way, we'll click Move Chart here, and we're going to click New Sheet, and we're just going to call it Quarter 2 Chart. We'll click OK, and notice it places that on a brand new chart. We'll click Mark Completed. We are on GMetrix Excel Multi-Project 2. We're currently on project number 7 called Computer Hotline. Task 1 asks us to go to the average call time worksheet, and it tells us to use a feature in Excel that copies the spark line to the vacant cell. So we'll go ahead and select this cell, G4, and if you look here closely in the bottom right hand corner, you have this green box. If you put your cursor on top of that, you get this black cross cursor. With that, you can go ahead and select that cell and drag down, and it will copy the spark line down, and it will use that row to feed the data. So we'll go ahead and click Mark Completed. Task 2 asks us to go to the employee hours sheet, and in this table here, it asks us to add a total row. So with this table, with my cursor in this table, I get the table tools design, and in this tile styles option or table styles option, we're just going to click total row, and notice it calculates that for us. We'll click mark completed. Task 3 asks us to go to the overtime column here, and what we're going to do is put a function in to this table, and it's going to look to see if that employee worked more than 40 hours, and if it did, it's going to say yes, and if it doesn't, if that employee didn't, then it's going to say no. So let's go ahead and insert our function. With that H4 selected, we'll click the insert function button, and we'll type in if, and we'll click OK. And our logical test is this. You're going to look at J4, and is it greater than 40 hours? We'll hit tab, or you can select the second line. We're going to say yes, capital Y, and I'm just going to hit tab and capital no for false. So it's looking at the formula. If it's true, yes. If it's false, we're going to return the value of no, and we'll click OK. Now it's important that you just use the function builder for this, because right here, if you look in the formula, it has quotation marks around the words yes and no. If you were hand keying that entire formula in and you did not include those quotation marks, it would not, the formula wouldn't return back any value. So we'll go ahead and click mark completed. Task 4 asks us to, we're still on this employee hours sheet, and we're going to use another function to return the value of A4, so that the first letter in the people's names, the employees' names here, comes back with the capital first letter and a lowercase for the rest of the word. So here we'll put our cursor. We're going to insert a function, and this function is going to be called proper. And we'll click go, we'll click enter again, and all we got to do is select our text, Emilio, and notice it went ahead and it capitalized that letter for us. We'll click mark completed, and task 5 asks us to go to the average call time, and what we want to do is select our series 1 data. Now our series 1 data here is the data that's in column F for Friday. So with that data selected, we'll go ahead and click insert. It's a 3D clustered column, and if you look down here at the bottom of the chart, you notice it just has the numbers 1 through 13. Well, that represents an employee here, and what we want to do is replace the 1 with somebody's name. So with this chart selected, we'll click select data, and what we want to do is edit our horizontal axis labels. So we'll click edit here, and it's asking for the range here. So starting with Emilio and going all the way down, we'll go ahead and click OK. We'll click OK, and notice that the numbers have been replaced with people's names. We'll click mark completed. But before we move on, we want to make sure we do the last step. It is to the right of the table, but we want to change the chart colors to colorful palette 4. So it's table selected, chart tools, design, change colors. We're in the colorful group and colorful 4. So we'll click that. Now we can click mark completed.